And in the beginning, a very warm, formal welcome, I would say, on this inaugural meeting of our alliance, of which I'm very happy to be the convener of. I'm personally grateful for all of you people for being here and agreeing to be part of this alliance. We actually were, I was personally talking to friends for the last 3 months on discussing this, that what we need to do. But this COVID then created a kind of an urgency, and the fault lines which became apparent immediately in the first phases of the COVID made me write that invitation after discussing with a lot of people that what should be done, this idea of alliance, and we reached out to the friends, and the kind of emphatic positive response that we had has actually encouraged me also to move with the speed. And as a result, now we already have a nucleus. You could see my colleague also present here. We are working on the website very actively. Our newsletter is under preparation, and by next week, inshallah, both the things would be up and running. So in that context, I thought that we should have a meeting, Zoom meeting. Unfortunately, we cannot meet, but let's start, because the situation is such that the sooner the alliance starts contributing to the improvement of the situation, we in this meeting, we were not going into the details of the technical, theoretical details. We had a very good discussion for about 2 weeks on the WhatsApp group about the theoretical debates on social protection, safety nets versus social protection, what is minimum social protection, what is universal comprehensive social protection. But the bottom line, I would not take much time, is that on the one hand is the work, on the other hand is the disability. And if you work and if state makes the arrangements in place for contributing towards your own protection against destitution, against hunger, against disease, then you can weather the extreme shocks better. That has not happened. So we keeping work as the key ingredient of any social protection system with minimum social assistance. We appreciate what the VISP is doing, and that has been helpful. But we have also noted the non-communication between the other institutional welfare, particularly at the provincial level. Our planning minister has publicly said that 76% employment data is missing in Pakistan. So we do have social protection arrangements in place, but fragmented, and this has been the resolve of the alliance partners to practically contribute to the improvement of the situation. And there we are only reminding the government that our constitution and government's own SDG commitments say that government would enhance the social protection or promote the social protection in Pakistan by 2030, and we would like to help the government and other agencies, including the global partners, in that process. So that roughly has been the background. So in this context, now today we are meeting for the first time, so it's a time to fraternize with each other, to know each other also. So the way we are going to structure the whole session is that we would have 4 rounds essentially. In the first round, we would request the alliance partners to share with other partners as to what made them join the alliance. So that would be the first round, and quickly we would request all the partners to tell us what made them join. And once we, or within this, the partners could add that what value would they imagine adding to the alliance. So after this round is over, then we would have a short moderated discussions for some 20-30 minutes on your views about the short, medium, and long-term targets that we should set for the alliance. And that would bring us to the third round, which is that we would ask the participants their view about the how part, that how would they like to contribute to the functioning of the alliance for the realization of the objectives. And I must reiterate here that this is an alliance. We are the Secretariat. We would definitely generate critical knowledge for all of you. We would undertake the think tank functions, but alliances run with the alliance partners. So you people are the key. I'm there as convener, but basically to aggregate your contributions, your energies towards a goal which is common to us, which is dear to us, I would say. And then last round, we, in addition to our alliance institutional organizational alliance partners, we do have independent experts who have also joined us as knowledge. So I'll be asking them to comment on the previous discussion and share their views about that, and then we would be closing up the discussion. And I take this opportunity also to thank the guests from ILO. ILO, as we all know, is the UN focal agency for social protections. They have a program on social protection floors in a few countries. Pakistan is one of those countries. So we would be very happy. We are happy that they're around, and in the coming days, we hope to work with them much more. So with these introductory remarks, we would start with the first round, which basically we would be requesting the alliance partners to share with us as to what made them join the alliance and how would they add value to that. So there we can keep it rather in formal, and I'll keep requesting one by one different organizational partners to speak. So let's speak with Dr. Abid Suleri. Are we together? Dr. Abid, your mic is off. You are still mute, I guess.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Good evening, and let me begin by congratulating Dr. Safdar Suhail for having this inaugural meeting. This is something which, of course, was in our mind for last many years, but we were not able to find an anchor who could actually take this agenda forward. We at Sustainable Development Policy Institute, of course, we have been working on social protection issues, but as you know, we are a transdisciplinary organization. And while we think it's extremely important to have multidisciplinarity and transdisciplinarity in our research work and in our policy outreach programs, sometimes we feel that there must be a dedicated one-window shop for certain issues. And I think this thematic alliance around universal social protection, that can be for us that one-window shop where we can keep on contributing any knowledge product that we prepare. But again, more than this contribution of our knowledge product, we also want a knowledge repository whereby we can also get benefit from and get educated from the work of other specialists who are working on this agenda and who are bringing it together. So I think this alliance, for me, I see it as having a two-way function. One is where we can contribute our research products and our evidences on around social protection, and second, where we can get educated and we can get further agenda for our research. So the question that would be raised by alliance partners the research that would be done by other alliance partners, of course, that would provide us further stimulus to take our work further. And on top of this, the third thing where I see this alliance working is a very structural sort of policy outreach around this whole universal social protection. So, as you know, advocacy is not something which is a fast food burger and you have it for one time and you fulfill your appetite. It's an ongoing effort, and more the merrier. So if we really want to see some change in this universal social protection, our social protection regime in Pakistan, it has to be an ongoing effort. It has to be a collective effort, and it has to be something which organizations they own and they keep on doing within their own organizational ambit. But I would suggest that anything that comes from the partner organization around social protection, if besides their own organization logo, if they also put a logo of Pakistan Alliance for Social Protection, that would actually increase our voice manifold. So if we have something that my colleagues who are working on social protection, and Sajid Amin is also here in this meeting, so is Hania Shah. So the people who are working on this agenda, if they are producing something, I'll be more than happy to have PASP logo with it as well, so that it go as a sort of a collective voice. Of course, in order to do it, we would have to discuss certain modalities, either some peer review process or some process whereby different organization partners, they agree or they disagree on certain positions, so that there can be a consensus around it. But these are the things which will certainly help in taking this agenda forward, and we are looking forward to work with all other specialists on in this sector, and we'll be very much happy to support you in whatever form we can do.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abid. Now I'll request Dr. Salman Humayun to share his thoughts. Dr. Salman, are we together?
Yeah, I believe. I hope you can hear me now.
Yeah, very well.
Yes. Okay, thank you much. Let me start by congratulating the entire group and particularly Dr. Safdar for taking this initiative. Social protection is something which is very close to our heart at the Institute of Social and Policy Sciences. We have great interest in working on equity, particularly across a couple of areas. So my interest with the Alliance and joining the Alliance is that I understand Alliance is likely to produce very strong, empirically rich evidence that is very Pakistan specific, which of course benefits from international literature, but how rigorous it is in terms of generating empirical evidence on Pakistan's various regimes on social protection and frameworks. My second interest would be to see that how Alliance organize itself in terms of influencing policies, what kind of seat we can get on the policy table. I believe having a good combination of technically sound knowledge and getting a seat on the policy table is extremely important. And that is not possible without creating a network or an alliance of concerned organizations, people who have certain kind of trust in the force of the evidence and the way it is packaged for policy influencing. So my kick contributing to this alliance, or my organization is available with this all resources, that how we can really work towards that, because one of our core focus is on education and how it relates that we are all about creating a level playing field for various sectors, which ultimately leads towards at least minimum wage, equal wages, or certain kind of wages for everyone, as opposed to safety networks. So my interest and organizational interest is to contribute to this alliance in terms of generating evidence and influencing policies. Thank you.
Well, before I invite Ms. Shiri Gul to speak, Dr. Salman has been very economic with his words. I'll suggest that the alliance partners do speak a little bit more about their own organizations. For example, Institute of Social and Policy Sciences and CRCP, Consumer Rights Commission of Pakistan. They are very old, major think tanks and advocacy organizations here. So most of us, this is to know each other, but still, Dr. Salman, I have taken the liberty to talk a bit more about your organization, but I think some people don't know all the partners, so I'll request that in the next intervention, please do talk very briefly about your respective organizations. Ms. Shirin.
Everyone, I also join everyone in congratulating you, Dr. Safdar, because this has been something I think all of us who've been working on social protection have sort of been waiting for some kind of an indigenous voice in this debate, and for me, I think that's the we have our international partners, we have those perspectives, but somewhere where a Pakistani voice on social protection sort of comes in, I think that for me is very interesting and a very a unique opportunity to sort of develop something which works for us. So there are a lot of things that we see internationally, that we see happening within Pakistan, but what works really for Pakistan and what doesn't work for Pakistan, and gradually one can obviously expand the alliance as well, but to begin with, sort of getting into that debate and getting into that space of the debate, like both Dr. Abid and Dr. Salman also said, I think that's the important part. As far as the organization that I come from is concerned, I'm basically part of a consultancy called Verso Consulting. We've been working with different partners on social protection, and we've been doing some of our own work as well. It's definitely a work stream that we have pursued. We're around 3.5 years old at this point, and this is a work stream that we've pursued since our inception. The mapping that was shared by ILO, for instance, was something that Verso Consulting partnered with ILO and did. And obviously ILO was very forthcoming, and ILO's help was really important in getting that work done. Other than that, my association is also with Development Pathways, which is one organization that works on citizenship-based and universal social protection. That's their position, which they take internationally as well. So that's another thing where this debate, bringing that onto policy milieu within Pakistan more emphatically. Again, I'm repeating myself, but that I think the alliance would help quite a bit with. In terms of the juncture that we are at right now, the way I look at it at this point, and obviously we're all learning in this process, so I hope to learn from all the alliance members. That I think is the opportunity that I personally find most important or most useful, is that there's such a distinguished gathering that one can learn from as professionals as we go along. But at this point, I think the important thing that I'm sure everybody's looking at, but let me also articulate it, is the whole idea of building back better from a crisis. And I think that's where the timing of this alliance is very crucial, because what do we mean when we say building back better in the two very important aspects, which is universal health and universal social protection? Because we've seen that the effort of emergency cash transfer was there, everything, the efforts were there, but the mechanism and the system was not there. So what can we do so that, for instance, by the time the vaccine comes, would we have built back better so that at least the COVID vaccine would be, for example, available for more people than the cash transfer is right now? So things like that. So I think that with the timing is great. And I really look forward to be a part of this. And the organization that I work for or work with, or I'm a part of, is very much a part of the alliance now. And whatever resources we have, whatever expertise we have, whenever we have to pool it, I like the idea that Dr. Saleri gave in, that there can be a peer review kind of a situation within the alliance. So every now and then, if there's a product that should go beyond just a single organization, it can come up with a collective voice, and we can take that forward. I think I've been quite elaborate. I'll leave it for everyone else to also pitch in and come back in the next round. But thank you so much for initiating it, and I really look forward to working with all of you as part of the alliance.
Thank you, Shirin. Dr. Izhar.
जी सर, हाजिर सर,
जी
आवाज आ रही है सर?
जी बिल्कुल आवाज आ रही है।
Sir, thank you very much for joining me. Rather, I am joining you. And it's a great initiative. We have been working together uh, for some time regarding disabilities and other issues. Uh, Now I have to introduce myself very briefly. I am representing Ahuvat as well as Punjab Welfare Trust for Disabled, and both organizations are working at grassroots level. Through Ahuvat, as everybody of you know a bit about Ahuvat, it is doing microfinance, it is in education sector, it is providing health to some part of the communities, as well as there are certain initiatives like transgender, psychosocial disorders, orphanages, and blah, blah, blah. And regarding Punjab Welfare Trust for Disabled, you know that we are uh, providing assistance to some 120 partner NGOs working in the field of disability, from primary prevention to tertiary rehabilitation. So because we met some couple of years back, Dr. Safdar Suhail was very interested in doing some remarkable jobs in the field of disability, and we came together in a small group and we started looking forward for a few things. And it was just very, very important that we have got uh, some association, some kind of synergy where we can put our ideas, we can share our informations, we can share our data, and we can uh, support each other with a synergy, because there are lot many organizations working for the people from the community in the different part of Pakistan. The organized charity is contributing only a small pool. I think only it is less than 15% of the charity through organized way in Pakistan. More than 85% of the charity is at very grassroots level. Number one. Number two, we have no data at all regarding that charity and the portfolio of those charities. And number three is that we are not knowing the exact situation of the prevailing circumstances in different part of the country. So it is a great initiative that we can contribute our uh, information, we can contribute our data, we can contribute our skill sets, we can design an integral approach where we can support each other in finding ways and means to have a near total protection for the communities living inside Pakistan. And I think that uh, it is very important that we must generate enough data for social protection so we can find ways and means to put across our initiatives for those underprivileged and scattered population across Pakistan. Uh, my take is that it is very important that a small or big, every kind of organization put their information in the portfolio here and join hand with each other. They find their exact partners globally. They find their exact partner within Pakistan, within provinces, within regions of provinces, and even district to tehsil level. I think that we must have a very structured kind of association which can help us finding the required information across. Like we must have uh, provincial chapters, we must have divisional chapters, we must have district chapters, we must have representation at the sea level, and all these converge at some point of time where this esteem organization can play a role with policies, strategies, certain disciplines, networking, building relationship, providing sharing resources, and finding the way out in this regard. So I think for first segment of this conversation, it is enough from my side. Dr. Amjad wants to be here. He is a bit unwell. So he may not be joining today, but he is on board, and it is a great privilege to work with Dr. Safdar Sohail. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Ms. Ambreen, please.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum ji. I am Ambreen Wahid and I represent Responsible Business Initiative. My work, I think for the last 20 years, is focused on the social uplift uplift of the business communities around business and their supply chain communities. So I have worked through business, but again, for the benefit of the most vulnerable and the poor. So basically, and then again, I have worked on labor standards, human rights at that level, grassroots level. I worked basically brought fair trade for non-food products, soccer balls in Pakistan, and worked with, again, a number of other organizations. We work in collaboration. But another part is my contribution at a global level is developing curriculum on poverty elevation, which is, again, I will talk later. So this, and where I come from, basically I will just focus on the first part right now. My contribution or my excitement for joining this is, again, RBI is an organization which has always worked through collaborations and joining hands, whether internationally, nationally, on advocacy and action. So we focus on doing things, developing frameworks, developing systems, and then basically getting on to working. So probably I will be really happy to work with the whole team, think through many things. And again, a little bit on but I will talk about it more later. I am, or my organization or myself, we are the people who've just moved, we focus on the conceptual or the behavioral change more. And I can probably say that we have moved some of the multinationals and the national organizations from charity to more into capacity building for the long-term benefit of the vulnerable societies and then collaborations. So my focus will be more on this side of social protection.
Okay. Thank you, Ambreen. Amir sir.
Oh, ji, assalamu alaikum. So my name is Ahmed Durrani. For those of you who don't know me, I exactly don't know why Sohail Saab has added me to this group, because I bring a very diverse portfolio, but I do suspect that there is a couple of things that I've done in my life for those sins I've been asked to be part of this alliance. One is that I have done a lot of work on community-driven development and social protection in the World Bank. I worked with one of the stalwarts there, Kalinidhi Subbarao. And we did a lot of work on the India social protection program and also in the post-conflict scenario in Afghanistan, where I managed the largest cash for work program, the National Emergency Employment Program. So I think I got into this discussion primarily from the standpoint of trying to explain. I think there was a causality between, why BISP came about, what's the political economy around BISP. I find social protection very, very interesting. These days, I'm doing a little bit of work with the Balochistan Council for Peace and Prosperity, which is linked directly to trying and convincing Balochistan, particularly, to start looking at universal basic income. And so I'm very, very enthralled by the discussions. And I'm sorry, Safdar Saab, I have not been communicating more on the group, but I've been trying to catch up. There's a lot of very positive discussion happening there. I think that I think that's kind of my background. The other thing is that in terms of that, I have over the last 4 years developed a district disparity model with the help of my team. No, I haven't developed it. A lot of people have, but I've been leading that effort. And basically, we've looked at how the National Finance Commission Award and the distribution of fiscal resources to the provinces and sub-provincial level, how has that played into the outcomes that have been achieved both from a social and economic standpoint, the inequities that have come about, and what the distribution formulas and what have they resulted in. And I think that's where Sohail Saab, we met again in recent past, and I showed you that work. That work is now, by the way, published both by the Pakistan Society of Development Economics as well as by the Asian Development Bank. And it's 4 years of work using temporal data, I think, which will feed very well into when we start talking of inequities and particular angles associated with that. As an introduction, I think, let me first also congratulate Sohail Saab for bringing me into this very exciting alliance. I think that I will have to echo what Shireen said, that basically, I think there couldn't be a better time because of the fact that, we call it COVID, post-COVID, whatever we want to say. But we are in a dilemma. The world is in a pandemic, whether it's real or not, but definitely has social and the repercussions of this imaginary or otherwise pandemic are pretty real for the poor and the middle income and the lower middle income people in Pakistan, especially. So I'm particularly very focused in Pakistan, and I think one of the things I would like the alliance to take advantage of is the fact, as where we are today, we already need to start thinking of during COVID and post-COVID actions. And I think what we are talking about, social protection, is central to what has to be done during these times that we live in and the times to come. And I think that I need to take cue from two things before I shut up. The first thing is that I think we are fundamentally, people have to now talk about redistribution of incomes. We have to talk about reprioritizing our spending. And specifically when we talk of reprioritizing our spending in the context of Pakistan, I think time has come for us to push back on the dam fund and actually talk about something more, the damned fund, because that's who the poor are. They're damned by the government. And I think we really must start thinking of that, and really now is the time, because otherwise the budget, as far as I know, is already there. But I think we can still start chipping on the edges in the coming year. The second thing I think, which is most important, is I'm dismayed by the current the polity and also the discourse between the various political parties, which is basically whenever you talk of economy, it's about finance, it's about the traditional 19th, 20th century globalization. I don't know how many of you have read up on Danny Roderick. I think it's a magnificent article he wrote, I think a week or two back, where he says that, and this is in counter to the IMF and the World Bank. Sorry, it's my alma mater, I retired from the World Bank. But for me, it was a learning being there, great institution, but doesn't do much. So I think that at the end of the day, what I've learned is that we have been beholden to economic globalization. I think we are now finally coming to realize that the globalization that we need is social, environmental globalization. And really, Danny Roderick argues against the World Bank and IMF and a lot of the multilaterals who are saying, oh, well, we have to safeguard tariffs, we have to stop reshoring. I don't know how many of you know that, but reshoring is what Trump wants. And I'm not a very big fan of Trump, but I think that as part of that reshoring, the social protection issues come in. And I think we need to rethink Gawada, we need to rethink the whole CPEC dilemma that we're facing in the context of social protection. So I think I'll stop there because I'm kind of full of all the things. There are 20 webinars a day now. So thank you very much for this opportunity again, Sohail Saab, and I look forward to contributing whatever little I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Amir. Zahoor Awan Saab. Zahoor Awan Saab, आप unmute कर लें अपना mic.
हेलो
ज़हूर अवान साहब, आपकी आवाज हमें नहीं आ रही है।
आपको नहीं आ रही है आवाज?
अब आ रही है, अब आ रही है, बात करें आप। ज़हूर अवान साहब जो है वो
अच्छा, इस तरह है कि
ज़हूर अवान साहब जो है पाकिस्तान वर्कर्स फेडरेशन के जनरल सेक्रेटरी हैं। बहुत शुक्रिया ज़हूर साहब कि आप तशरीफ लाए, बात कीजिए आप।
बहुत शुक्रिया सफदर सोहेल साहब इंग्लिश में बात करूं या अपने सारे हमवतन बैठे हैं तो उर्दू में कर लेता हूं?
आप उर्दू में कर लें, हम इसकी एक इस पे रिपोर्ट जनरेट करेंगे। तो जो we do have some foreigners here, but we would send the report to them in any case. आप बेशक उर्दू में ही बात कर लीजिए।
Anyhow, I can speak in English, whatever it is. In fact, thank you very much at the very outset, for your this very positive initiative for making an alliance, which is on the area of very important social protection. I wanted to hear before ILO, so that may be possible if that can build up our social protection in the present circumstances or previously, if they are somebody is here. So that could have been of helpful to me to express my views as well in the follow-up to it. But I will come later on that. But anyhow, I think within another 2-3 days, my paper, this will be the second edition, although it is after coronavirus effect, but social protection is one important chapter in the in this position paper, which within 2-3 days, because I have to present it to Special Advisor to Prime Minister and as well as to Sonia Nishtar Saiba about this position paper. So it is being prepared, almost finalized. So by Friday, I will be able to send it to all worthy members of this alliance. So social protection is very importantly covered in it, because in the present circumstances, when we say that Prime Minister himself, his statement which reveals that 80% of the population is out of the social protection. If we see on the segment of the workers, because almost out of 206 million, whichever quoted population by the World Bank, out of which 66 million, those they are workers engaged in the formal and informal sector altogether. But out of which, if we see that how much presently, because if we see on social protection, unemployment benefit, even in the present circumstances, is no more available to any of the worker, even those they have become unemployed due to this coronavirus, although where there are trade unions. So definitely they, through collective bargaining, are doing something. But then, unfortunately, 6% of the total workforce is unionized. So therefore, they are less, but anyhow, then they are the spokesmen also for rest of the 94 non-unionized workforce in this country, particularly to the informal sector. But when we comes, mean that like Safdar Sohail Saab, as you know, some meager things which happens in regard to the medical health, that is social security for the workers, although law is very clear that it covers every worker. But then on the other hand, if we see that just around 30 lakh workers, those they are not, even 2 million I quoted report it says, but 33 million to employees old age benefit around. These figures, when they stand where the rest of the other that would go. My particular emphasis to alliance is that when last year in April, 30th April, there was constituted a labor expert group where Sania Nishtar Saiba and other two important federal secretaries, they were co-chair. So they drafted and they came with the report about that how social protection, in which government exchequer, how that can come to help those workers to get them registered under those social protection labor welfare schemes. But so far we still are waiting in last 1 year. How would that be possible? Even workers from our side, they are ready to register, but they cannot register themselves when they are not getting even a minimum wage. They are not getting emoluments close to even 17,500 for an unskilled worker wage slab, in which the workers, they don't get it. So how they can contribute? But even then we are ready that they should also contribute. But then on the other side. Only employer contribute, state has the responsibility to contribute. Even social security, which came during Ayub Khan period, Workers Welfare Fund, which came Noor Khan 1969 and EOBI Zulfikar Ali Bhutto Sahab. Since then till now, government is contribution to these schemes, even regular schemes, that is zero. Only they manage the funds. We, the alliance, through alliance, has to see how we can divert government attention, not only to make their role responsible for paying social protections, their part, but then how to cover the informal workers which don't have any right, anything, anyone to these schemes. So this is what that I request from the Social Alliance. I will be inshallah part of it, Sir Sohail Saab. You are quite, I am impressed at the time since when we were in the European Union, since then we have a relationship. You have an human heart to come forward for this, and I think some of the efforts all to us, being that colleagues who have spoken, will definitely go in crowning the success in the time to come if we, with our ultimate goal, go ahead in from our own mind to do whatever it is possible for the downtrodden people and the workers of this country. Thank you very much at this stage.
अवान साहब बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया और मैं चाहूँगा कि अपने दोस्तों को बताऊं कि मैं अवान साहब को तब से जानता हूं जब मैं पाकिस्तान का इकोनॉमिक मिनिस्टर था इन EU, and he is one of the senior most trade union leader in Pakistan, and we work together to enhance the impact of GSP Plus, and he has been very supportive as well to the government also, I would say, but at the same time very very honestly, passionately promoting the welfare of the labor in Pakistan. Awan sab, we are very happy to have you around. Ji Ikram sab, Ikramul Haq sab, we are together.
Ji.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sohail and other participants that we have been given a chance here to become part of this alliance, which is very important and very timely. So our motivation as a legal firm, Zam and Ikram, to join this is to see in broader constitutional and legal framework that why Pakistan has failed utterly after demise of government in 1977. After that, I always wonder that why all the progressive labor laws, whatever we had after especially 2010, now human rights petition is pending in Supreme Court that they have failed to devolve, and huge money is lying with federal government and they are not giving it to. So at this point of time, utter confusion prevails that even whatever legal framework we have, within that we are not able to distribute and disperse, and owners, they are not contributing since 2006 by going into a petition that the amendments made in these laws were through money bail, and our Supreme Court came to the conclusion that since these are not taxes, these cannot be part of money bail, and government did not realize that by remedial and curative scheme they can bring the bill to Senate and retrieve all the money. So at the moment, billions are lying. If you see their big companies published accounts, you will see that huge provision is lying there that they have to contribute. Nobody has written about it, realized about it, and the last submission before Supreme Court was that 170 billion are lying unutilized with federal government alone. So in this period when they are running from post, pillar to post to find where the money is. I'm not coming to the other part, how they will have to distribute it. But even the question of billions lying with those who are supposed to contribute on the taking advantage of lacuna by this, what I can say, most incompetent parliaments we have. They don't realize that how to present a law. If a law is not a money bill, how you can just get it done? It's a carelessness or it is design. I have failed to understand. I don't know how many of you have read my article, Retrieving Billions Lying Unpaid. And that will give you an idea that why my passion is to join this alliance, that I want to bring two things, and this I will finish that. First is that without a fair tax system and distribution to all from that, I don't believe in these creating so many departments like Benazir Income Support and then SARS and this and that. It's a simple model which I know and which is working for decades. That is that from the same tax amount you collect, you go for social protection. Data is centralized. We know each and every person's economic status, and through what you can say negative income, if that person is earning less than your threshold to tax. For example, if it is uh, today 400,000 and the person is earning 200,000, so the difference of 20,000 must be paid to him. I'm not a believer of this minimum wages or something. You give them like a mercy. I think that out of tax that governments collect is their prime responsibility to pay them, and not only to make them beggars forever. Then they should train them, they should open whatever avenues, equal opportunities through education, and they can make many ways by that. And then to social mobility, in all the Nordic states is much better. Although UK is not, lagging behind as far as their social democracy in terms of disbursement is concerned. But what is the difference between Nordic state, for example, and United Kingdom is that is very simple because their social mobility is very because of their better education that gives second generation a chance from coming from a very low strata to becoming upside. So that is my idea to join this alliance and to bring purely uh, not economic, although also my subject, but primarily legal framework, and to relook at that and not going into very complicated things, but to bring it to very simple, that there should be a fair taxation system in Pakistan, and from that taxation system we should sponsor and fund a comprehensive social security system. I will just stop here. Thank you very much.
जी हुजैमा, आप अभी टुगेदर, आप अनम्यूट कर लीजिए अपना.
Yes, I am very much here.
जी, please go ahead.
Okay, ditto what Ikram just said. I'll cut it short because we are both on the legal side, and we prefer to take stringent legal actions, or suggest legal means to cover up this whole thing, because there's no point in just, doing researches and having conferences and meetings, because something practical has to be done, and practicality is more important to solve the issues of the downtrodden. So being very sympathetic towards their issues, I think if we can collectively form a voice which can be heard across the deaf ears of the parliamentarians, because they are the ones who are supposed to legislate, and of course the executive, who are supposed to enforce the laws. So I think this will go a long way in helping out and being representative of the people who really need help, especially during pressing times. So I just pray that all these efforts that you are putting in are successful and we are able to communicate whatever our desires are to the upper echelons of the society. Thank you.
Thank you, Uzama. Pervez Said Saab, are we together?
जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम सबसे
जी वालेकुम सलाम.
जी अच्छा given the choice between nice and long and short and sweet so I think I'll settle for short and sweet. My reasons for being part of this group, number one is Dr. Suhail Saab himself. इनसे हमारी वाकफियत तो है और आई एम एब्सोल्युटली कन्विंस कि जिस भी इशू को या जिस भी प्रोजेक्ट को ये हेड करेंगे वो सूनर और लेटर सक्सेस विल कम इट्स वे एंड द फैक्ट इज दैट दे से that you can stop an invading army but you cannot stop an idea whose time has come. So ये universal protection की जो बात है इसका time, this is the time and it's very well timed and all it really needs is a big effort. Back end में कहता हूँ और तो मुझे नहीं कहना चाहिए कि जो उसको to put together a product and to make it work, operationalize उसके लिए तो जो talent हम देख रहे हैं इस group में, it's really amazing. Where I come in, that's the second reason why I'm here, is currently I'm heading an organization, Public Issue Law Association of Pakistan, PILA. We have been in this sector for about 10 years now, and our objective is to get the people their rights, especially the underprivileged sectors of the society, to get them their rights through advocacy and through litigation. And right now we are actually in the process of trying to figure out that if we could sort of shortlist a couple of areas which need our attention post-COVID and right now. And there are, of course, a number of public issue areas, but I think this particular one, universal social protection, is really a fantastic idea. And I think this is also should be a focus of our organization. At the end of the day, this group would need the front end, change management. You got to have a bit of marketing. You got to have a lot of advocacy. And if push comes to shove, you will need litigation as well. So I think that's where PILAP has a very strong, let's say, strategic fit with this particular group. And that's the second reason why I'm here. And I hope, wish everybody best of luck. And let's see how it pans out. Thank you.
Thank you, Pervez Saab. And I must add that PILAP is actually based out of Karachi, and we already have started having some kind of regional. We also would hear in due time Mehtab Kareem Saab from Karachi also. But Pervez Saab, thank you very much. PILAP is going to be an important partner in our alliance. Ji Aziz Saab.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Aziz Nashtar. This number one, सबसे पहले तो डॉक्टर सफदर साहब को मुबारक कि इन्होंने he has organized so good a group of professionals from various areas, and all of those, as far as I know, are full of passion. बहुत सारे लोगों ने कहा this is the time. I would say this is overdue. इसे बहुत पहले हो जाना चाहिए था, लेकिन सूनर बहुत हो जाना चाहिए था. आज भी I would say it is the time. The wake up call by COVID has woken us up, and some of us have taken this initiative. I'm just a technician, a legal technician. मैं जिसे आप अपनी सादा लैंग्वेज में मिस्त्री कह लें, तो आप बड़े बड़े आर्किटेक्ट माशाल्लाह यहाँ इकट्ठे हुए स्ट्रक्चर करें. मेरी मेन कंसर्न जो है एंड द मोटिवेशन वो ये है कि मेरे नज़दीक हम में से हर किसी की ड्यूटी ये है कि हम में से जो भी रात की रोटी सुकून से खा सकता है, उसके ऊपर लाजिम है कि वो साइल और महरूम जो है वो प्रोविजन करे. और इस सारे काम में हम एक तो वैसे भी अकेले भी नहीं, इकट्ठे हो के भी फ्यू भी क्या मैं कहूँगा इवन साइजेबल वॉइस तो बना सकते हैं, लेकिन अनलेस गवर्नमेंट इज ऑन बोर्ड एंड गवर्नमेंट इज पुश्ड टू एनफोर्स अ यूनिवर्सल सोशल सपोर्ट सिस्टम, ये वाली चीज जो है जस्ट एक चैरिटी, एक एनजीओ, एक इस अंदाज का इनिशिएटिव रहेगी। मैं जो चीज़ कहना चाह रहा हूँ, इस वक्त भी एक बड़े जो लैंडस्केप है वो कोई बहुत बैरन नहीं है, लेकिन जितना सारा काम है उसे कोई वाटर करने वाला नहीं है, उसकी कोई ऑर्गेनाइजेशन नहीं है। जैसे इकराम साहब ने कहा साइजेबल अमाउंट पड़ी है, उसे कौन चला रहा है? ज़हूर अवान साहब जो है मस्ट बी मोस्ट अवेयर ऑफ दैट। ज़हूर अवान साहब को मेरे ख्याल पता भी नहीं होगा, इसलिए कि इन बोर्ड्स वगैरह पे जो लोग इसमें स्टेक होल्डर्स हैं, जो इसके बेनिफिशरी हैं, उन्हें सबसे बाद में पता चलता है। मैं अपने इस पैशन के साथ इस ग्रुप में शामिल भी हुआ हूँ कि जहाँ कहीं लीगल फ्रेमवर्क्स को एनालाइज करने की बात होगी, डेवलप करने की बात होगी, लेजिस्लेटिव इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स क्रिएट करने की बात होगी, वहाँ आप मुझे अपने साथ पाएंगे। मैं थोड़ा सा एको करना चाह रहा था आमिर दुरानी साहब की बात को कि yes, it is overdue to reprioritize the expenses, the spending. जो पैसे कौम इकट्ठे करती है, कितने भी होते हैं, is sizable. Where does that money go? हम सबका ये राइट भी है, हमारी जेबों से निकलता है, और जेबों से निकल के सबसे पहले उन लोगों के पास जाना चाहिए कि जिन्हें जो लोग इस ग्रुप का टारगेट बेनिफिशरी है, उनके पास सबसे पहले जाना चाहिए। और मेरा ख्याल है कि हम आज तक भी जो मुझे प्रॉब्लम पाकिस्तान का लगता है, वी स्पेंड टू मच मनी ऑन पाइपलाइन बट नॉट द वाटर विच फ्लोज टू द बेनिफिशरी। ये मेरे थॉट्स हैं। इनके साथ मैं इस ग्रुप को ज्वाइन भी कर रहा हूँ। आई एम हैप्पी एंड ग्रेटफुल दैट सफ्दर सुहेल हैज included me in, but if he had not, I would have just joined.
Thank you अजीज जी। करामत साहब, आप अनम्यूट काइंडली कर लीजिए अपना माइक। I think all of us know Dr. Karaman Saab has been one of the most prominent, I would say, labor activist, and their institution, Pilar, has played an extremely and continue playing an important part, and they are engaged with Sindh government also in their own tripartite, one would say. Karaman Saab, kindly बात कीजिए।
अस्सलाम वालेकुम, आप सबको आवाज आ रही मेरी?
जी जी, आवाज आ रही।
तो शुक्रिया बहुत डॉक्टर साहब। पहले तो आपको बहुत मुबारक कि ये सिलसिला आपने जो है ऑर्गेनाइज तरीके से आगे बढ़ाया, और हमारी तो आपस में बात होती रही है। मेरा ये बिल्कुल यकीन है कि अगर हमने अगले 2 साल के अंदर एक कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव सोशल सिक्योरिटी सिस्टम अपने मुल्क में नहीं लगाया, तो फिर इस मुल्क में कोई भी आराम से चैन से बैठ नहीं सकेगा। और जो 70 साल से लोग भुगत रहे हैं खामोशी से, वो अब बिल्कुल तंग आ चुके हैं। तो बहुत जरूरी है कि इसको हम सीरियसली ले लें, और ख़ास तौर पे वो जो हमारे पॉलिसी मेकर हैं, जिनको आम लोग जो हैं वो कीड़े मकोड़े नजर आते हैं, उनको समझ लेना चाहिए कि बहुत हो गया, इससे ज़्यादा वो ये जारी नहीं रख सकते। तो सोशल प्रोटेक्शन, सोशल सिक्योरिटी यूनिवर्सलाइज होना बहुत ज़रूरी है, और इसलिए आपकी जो एफर्ट्स हैं वो मैं उनको वेलकम करता हूँ। और मैं बहुत सारे साथियों ने बातें की हैं, वो सब बातें को उनको मैं एंडोर्स करता हूँ। इस वक्त हमें जरूरत ये है, ये जो कोविड आ गई है, हमें चीज़ों का भी आता है जब कोई बड़ी आफत हो जाए, ज़लज़ला हो जाए, ये वो अभी तक हमें उन लोग चीज़ों ने नहीं मूव किया था, लेकिन ये कोविड ने हमें मूव कर दिया है। तो मैं पहली बार देख रहा हूँ कि जब बात की जाए सोशल सिक्योरिटी की, तो अब लोग पहला सवाल ये नहीं करते हैं कि उसको हम फाइनेंस कैसे करेंगे, क्योंकि हमारे पास तो वो सारी चीजें फाइनेंस करने की रिसोर्सेज हैं जिसमें आम लोगों की कोई सिक्योरिटी नहीं है। तो अब लोग कहते हैं हाँ ये होनी चाहिए जैसे भी हो। तो मैं समझता हूँ ये एक अच्छा डेवलपमेंट है। और मैं आपकी तवज्जो ज्यादा मैं वक्त नहीं लूंगा, इस तरफ दिलाना चाहूंगा कि चूंकि लेबर एक प्रोविंशियल सब्जेक्ट हो गया है, तो सिंध ऐसा सूबा है पाकिस्तान में जहां ये तय कर लिया गया, लेबर कॉन्फ्रेंस हुई अब से 2.5 साल पहले, उसमें ये तय हुआ कि सोशल सिक्योरिटी को यूनिवर्सलाइज किया जाए। तो मेरी गुजारिश आप सब दोस्तों से ये है कि सिंध की हुकूमत इस वक्त ये करने को तैयार है। सिंध हुकूमत ने अपनी तरफ से ये ऑर्डर्स निकाले, एक ऑर्डिनेंस भी लाने की कोशिश की जिसको गवर्नर सिंध ने अभी तो फ्रस्ट्रेट कर दिया, लेकिन वो हो जाएगा कि तमाम लोगों को जो जिस भी तरह काम कर रहे हैं उनकी वेजेस मिलनी चाहिए। बेसिकली मीनिंग के उन्होंने जो है वो एक कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव जो है वो सिस्टम को एक्सेप्ट किया है कि अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट बेनिफिट्स होने चाहिए। तो मेरी उन्होंने ये किया कि एम्प्लॉयर्स देंगे, लेकिन एम्प्लॉयर्स ये कहते हैं कि हमारे पास कौन से फंड है जिससे दें। मेरी गुजारिश ये है आप सब दोस्तों से कि इस वक्त अगर सिंध की हुकूमत ये करने को तैयार है कि कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव यूनिवर्सल सोशल सिक्योरिटी होनी चाहिए, जिसमें सबसे बड़ा एलिमेंट जो इस वक्त हमें कन्फ्रंट कर रहा है वो अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट बेनिफिट्स का है, तो उसके ऊपर अगर आप सारे दोस्त थोड़ी अपनी अपनी सोच जो है डालें और हम ये बताएं कि ये कहाँ से फाइनेंस हो। मैं बिल्कुल इसके हक में नहीं हूँ कि सिर्फ जो है वो एम्प्लॉयर्स के ऊपर ये बोझ डाल दिया जाए। इट शुड बी एन इंस्टीट्यूशनल एग्रीमेंट, और वो हम कैसे करें सबसे बेहतर। मेरी गुजारिश ये होगी कि सारे दोस्त जो हैं वो अगर पहला टास्क जो इस वक्त के हिसाब से है वो ले लें कि सिंध में ये हो सकता है, तो हम एक जो है रोड मैप बना के सामने रखें कि किस तरह ये जो है वो अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट बेनिफिट्स को हम यूनिवर्सलाइज कर सकते हैं, गिवन कि हमारा जो स्ट्रक्चर है वो क्या है। थोड़े से लोग इनफॉर्मल सेक्टर में, अभी ज़ौरवान साहब बात कर रहे थे, बहुत कम लोग हैं जो फॉर्मल सेक्टर में काम करते हैं, बहुत कम लोग हैं जो हमारे उन इदारों के साथ रजिस्टर्ड हैं, लेकिन वो इदारे मौजूद हैं, हमने बनाए हैं। कोई 55 साल से काम कर रहा है, कोई जो है 30 साल से 40 साल से काम कर रहा है। उनको हमें इकट्ठा करके एक सॉलिड सोशल सिक्योरिटी का जो है वो फ्रेमवर्क बनाने की जरूरत है। तो मैं ये गुजारिश करूंगा कि इस वक्त यहाँ इसका इम्कान है और इसको हम ना खो दें। इसको हमने खो दिया तो बहुत दिन और लग जाएंगे, लेकिन उसके जो कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस हैं वो बड़े बहुत ही डेंजरस होंगे हमारी सोसाइटी के लिए। तो मेरी गुजारिश ये है कि इस पर थोड़ी सी तवज्जो दी जाए और हम आपको वेलकम करते हैं। सिंध में जो करना है आप हमें बताएंगे, हमारा इदारा आपके डिस्पोजल पे है। और मुझे पूरा यकीन है कि ये वक्त आ गया है कि हम ह्यूमन सिक्योरिटी को एक बुनियादी प्रिंसिपल बना लें। जब ह्यूमन सिक्योरिटी होगी तो बाकी नेशनल सिक्योरिटी वगैरह जो भी हम बातें करते हैं वो भी हो सकेंगी। अदरवाइज जब नेशन की मेजॉरिटी जो है वो इनसिक्योर है तो आपकी बाकी सिक्योरिटी कहीं भी काम नहीं आएगी। तो मेरी गुजारिश ये है कि इस पर सीरियसली गौर करें, और अगर आप लोग तैयार हो जाएंगे तो हम एक कॉन्फ्रेंस यहाँ कराची में कर लेंगे सिंध गवर्नमेंट के साथ मिलके। अब हम कोई एक ग्रुप बना लें जो इस पे काम करे, क्योंकि ये काम तो लंबा है, होता रहेगा, लेकिन कुछ चीजें अभी होनी चाहिए, अभी होने की जरूरत है। तो उस पे मेरी गुजारिश है सफदर साहब कि आप इसको कोऑर्डिनेट करें, हम सब आपके साथ हैं। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
बहुत शुक्रिया करामत साहब, आपकी गाइडेंस ये एक्चुअली अलायंस की फॉर्मेटिव डेज में भी डॉक्टर साहब की रही गाइडेंस हमें मुहैया, और बहुत कॉन्क्रीट आइडियाज़ अभी भी डॉक्टर साहब दिए हैं। इसी पे इंशाल्लाह हम बिल्ड भी करेंगे। मेहताब करीम साहब वाइस चांसलर हैं मलीर यूनिवर्सिटी के। हमारे अलायंस में we have institutional knowledge partners. Maleer University is one of them. FC College University also. Dr. Wajid किसी वजह से आज शिरकत नहीं कर पा रहे हैं। जी डॉक्टर मेहताब करीम।
जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure.
जी, first of all, thank you very much, Dr. Safdar. I know we have been discussing this for a while. I think it's a very good initiative, an appropriate initiative which you have taken. And what I heard from various people people. I think you have, to begin with, really some very the right persons. I know Karamasa very well for many years, and I think if you have people like him, and I'm sure that there are many other people from elsewhere in Pakistan, I think you are laying foundation of something which would make a major dent in the way things are in Pakistan. In positive sense, I mean, not in negative sense. First of all, let me briefly tell you that where I come from, I'm a social scientist, a researcher, basically, and my work over the past more than 30 years has been in the field of health and education, mainly nowadays for the last 10, 15 years, I've been working on evidence-based policy making. Unfortunately, part of it in abroad, but more recently in Pakistan. As we know that, and I think most of you would appreciate that most of the policy making is done in Pakistan without any evidence. And until we do that, we are not going to go anywhere. And I think this alliance can make a major contribution in that. And especially people coming from various segments of the society, from various sectors, from the people who are doing the practical work, and from those who are in the bureaucracy or have been in the bureaucracy, like Dr. Safdar Sohail and many others. So I think it's a good initiative. Now, there are many things which one can do, and I have a lot of ideas, but I think many of them have already spoken about. So I would like to be very brief that how, and especially going along with what Karamasa was saying, that we need to really concentrate to start with large cities like Lahore, Karachi, Islamabad, or Rawalpindi, Peshawar. That's where I think the crust of the problem is. Of course, the rural areas also to be taken care of. But here, I think one concern I have is the migrant labor. It's very unfortunate that our census was conducted in 2017 May, almost 3 years earlier, and we don't have enough data from there. Somebody said already that their World Bank had estimated there are 65 million people who are in the informal sector. I think there are many more, because then the population was 208 million people. Now we have crossed 220 million. So every year we are adding about 5 million people in our population, and accordingly we are adding that many workers. Not necessarily all of them are employed. There are a lot of issues with the employment and unemployment in Pakistan. We don't know the exact unemployment figure. Whoever says it is 5% or 6%, I think it's misnomer. I think there has to be much more, because there's large scale underemployment also in Pakistan. So I think in this scenario, social protection is a very important thing. Now, I basically don't agree with the Benazir income support program, or what a SASP program, which the government has recently started. It's basically doling out money, maybe every few months or every month, whatever. And that money is spent by the family. I think until we have some sort of ideas how to make them productive with the money they are receiving, I think we are not going to go anywhere, because they are going to stay on dole forever. So they are, as an institution, as a academic institution, I think that's where we come in, that how to train people, especially those who are living in so-called Kachi Abadis or slum or peri-urban areas. My university is located in Malir, a very, I think one of the most depressed areas of Karachi city. And that's where we have some sort of ideas generated from there, starting some evidence-based research, and then make recommendations, come up with policy papers, which could be passed on to the government. Unfortunately, they are the one who are in charge of everything. I think that's where we can do something, and I'm very willing to come up with some ideas, maybe use our students from different universities. I'm willing to come up with the faculty members and the students in my university, because the two most, we cover two areas, Malir district and Korangi district, which are the poorest districts in Karachi out of 6 districts. So that's where I can offer as an alliance partner, and I would be very happy to work with others who are in Karachi or elsewhere in Pakistan in coming up with some policy issues. So that's where is my take here. I don't want to take too much of your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saab. Now we are through with the first round, but it's good that everybody has taken his time, and the kind of neat separation that I had thought between different rounds, I think we, for better utilization of the remaining time, what I suggest is that we now invite the independent experts. We are very happy to have one expert from ILO Geneva also with us, and the national coordinator of the social protection program of ILO of Pakistan also. And then we have other experts whom I'll be requesting one by one, so that this first round of collecting the ideas is completed. And then we would have only one round after that, where we would ask the alliance partners their view of the targets. Like Ramat Sahab has already given us some immediate and short-term targets. So we would have that quick round about the way forward for the alliance and how the partners imagine contributing already. For example, Mehtab Karim has spelled out how Malir University, how he himself would contribute to the alliance. So we start with our guest from Geneva, Ms. Jean-Louis Lambeau.
Yes, I hope that you can hear me.
Yeah.
Do you hear me? Oh, thank you very much. So I'm very pleased and honored to be part of this meeting. I'm calling you from Geneva, indeed, and from the ILO, Department of Social Protection. And I would like to also to acknowledge my colleagues working in Pakistan, Dr. Saad and Dr. Razakwe. So just a few words to express basically our interest and congratulations for this initiative that's really going the way the ILO sees things, of course, for social protection, working towards a universal social protection and extending social protection to especially the unprotected, but also working on social dialogue and strengthening social security standards. Wherever, you know that the ILO is a normative organization, so these standards, the conventions and the recommendations is really our business, if you want, and we are really keen to work on those with every country. So I would say that the ILO is a supportive organization to this initiative and to the government of Pakistan and to the constituents, obviously. I would like just to highlight very briefly the fact that we are also a technical organization. That means that we can provide technical support to all these initiatives, and in this very special moment where emergency and development are meeting, we are working on perspectives and solutions that will at the same time align with those standards that should not be changed or downplayed, but at the contrary, they should meet a new way forward. So this is one very important thing that we are working on at the international level with the countries, the teams, of course, the ILO teams in the countries, and the team in Geneva as well. Just to mention that we have also, or we are setting up an advisory service or an advisory platform meant to support countries in their efforts to respond to the coronavirus. So that means that we have available there technical advice and technical coaching in many different aspects of social security. I think that's about what I wanted to say. We have currently a number of projects in Pakistan. One of them is working on governance, and I think this initiative feeds very well into this notion of governance, and hopefully will be turned as well as a best practice and acknowledged as such after all this is behind us. So thank you very much, and over to you.
Mr. Lambo, really delighted to have you and to hear your statement of support for our initiative. And I take this opportunity to indirectly thank Ms. Ingrid Christensen, the country director of ILO, also for her support and sending her team involving people from Geneva and the national team also. That means a lot for us, and we hope to very closely work with the ILO and be an able partner of ILO in advancing the common cause. Mr. Lambo, thank you again for sparing time, and we look forward to your continuous support and guidance in taking our cause forward. We would, of course, keep ILO very actively in contact of all our activities, and we hope that along with our partners, we would develop many more initiatives to advance the common cause. Thank you very much. And Rabia, are you around? Rabia,
hello.
Yes, please go ahead.
Sorry, it took me some time to unmute. Thank you, Dr. Safdar. Thank you, Jean-Louis, for sparing time. I know it was last minute. I'll just add on to what Lambio has already said. We have the right tools to basically proceed further with what Dr. Karamat has already mentioned in terms of having this national dialogue. And of course, we can pilot it in one of the provinces where there's already appetite. There's lots of good work being done in Punjab also with regards to bringing together a database on informal workers. So I think that too is an area where a lot of demand is being created, and that will also part of the Mazdoor Ke Ehsaas program, one spin-off of the Ehsaas program. And perhaps there will be more to discuss once we proceed to the next round in terms of ideas. But yes, ILO is here to support the alliance, with regards to the knowledge creation part of it. And of course, we have already, I think, have in place a number of documents, publications that contain best practices from around the globe that can also be, drawn lessons from, especially in the case of emergencies and how they work together with development initiatives. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rabia. We all know that you are very efficiently and passionately running this program on social protection floors in Pakistan. We would surely be looking up to your advice also on developing more programs, and happy to have you here. Ms. Caroline, are we together?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, please go ahead.
Thank you very much for inviting me to be part of today's meeting. I actually have very little to say. As I've told Dr. Safdar several times, I'm not a social protection expert, but I do work at the ILO, and I'm heading one of the projects that works specifically on the largest contributor to GDP outside of agriculture, the textile and garment industry. We, as a project, we don't work directly on social protection, but I do work with a number of those of you who are on today's call. And I've been in some discussions with the government of Sindh and our tripartite constituents who are based in Sindh to talk about that particular province's wish to take forward social protection ideas. So whilst I don't come to the discussion with any particular knowledge of social protection, I'm very supportive of what the Alliance has been discussing so far, and to whatever extent I can help, I'm more than happy to do that.
Thank you very much, Caroline. We have another guest also from ILO, and we would request her to speak if she would like to. Otherwise, we go to Dr. Shujat. Dr. Shujat, are we together?
almost about to leave because I have to do something else at home. But
yeah, please go ahead.
I left a chat message. It's agreed. मैं दो चार बातें कर लेता हूँ. I don't want to go over all the ground that has already been covered. It's a great initiative. It's a very timely initiative. This is a sort of a window of opportunity for giving more traction to social protection advocacy and an initiative in Pakistan. This is the post-COVID environment. And I think there's not a better time than now than to make this kind of a push that Dr. Safdar is orchestrating, a push to bring this issue on the table before the policymakers, before the politicians, decision makers, so that we are able to move ahead. As Dr. Karamat said, it's a long-term agenda, but it's been a neglected area, and now it's very good to see Dr. Safdar, once again, infusing new life into this agenda, and the kind of people who have joined him. I can see that this initiative will, days to come, I hope to see more traction in it. And it will be largely policy papers, it would be largely advocacy. And with Dr. Mehtab, we have worked together in the activities of the statistics division. A lot of this work cannot be done unless you're able to map out who the vulnerable are, who are the people in need of social protection. And while you're doing this advocacy work, make sure that you have the gathering of evidence and statistics. Give that initiative also, that part of the activity also a place on the table. Unless you create that kind of a data, you create that kind of knowledge of where the poor reside, where the vulnerable are, who are the people who need this kind of a protection. Unless you have that kind of a data, this is going to remain a very fragmented and a very narrowly based exercise. So I think this is all I have to say. Time is short. I have to leave. All luck and all speed to this initiative, and I look forward to participating in the future meetings of this alliance. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Shujat. We look forward to your continued support to our initiative, and thanks a lot for the best wishes and for the ideas. Dr. Alia, are we together?
Yes, I am here.
Please go ahead.
Okay.
Kindly बोलिए.
जी. Okay. I'm going to just mention an initiative that I have been part of very recently, and I think that it was almost like a preparatory initiative for the kind of issues that we are confronting now in terms of coverage of social protection, and especially for the workers in the informal economy. And in fact, I'm pushing Dr. Sania Nishtar to have the report launched as soon as possible, because once all of the alliance members get to have a look at that report, they will understand that we did the labor expert group that was tasked under the Mazdoor Ka Ehsaas component of the Ehsaas program, did produce a report that is evidence based in the sense of going down to really micro level occupational classifications of where the informal workers are, who are the daily wage workers, and what percentage daily wage workers earn below the minimum wage, or around a band of the minimum wage, and so on. What I would like to say is that we cannot ignore or set aside the importance of the state in this context. And wherever you look at social protection programs being rolled out post-COVID, they have mostly been state-led, and obviously informed very much by civil society, academia, and think tanks. But the primary responsibility, according to the constitutional obligations and to international labor standards, I would say, if we are focusing at the moment on labor, because social protection is a very wide subject, and being a labor economist, I can only focus on the labor issues. But while we were doing work on this, obviously there is the issue of overseas workers. Now, you must have obviously heard that a lot of overseas workers are returning back from the Gulf countries mostly, and from Europe and US as well. And they are not covered by any kind of social protection. So then there are refugees who need to be protected. There are child workers who need to be protected. So there are different categories of and segments of the working age population that need protection, along with obviously the other segments, marginalized segments of the population. And I also was involved in a post-COVID socioeconomic impact assessment, which for which I partnered with ILO, and we together produced a chapter on the whole assessment, which is being overseen by UNDP. This was done for the Planning Commission. Now, working with the government and for the government has a time lag. And one has to be very patient and not give up, because therein lies the vehicle through which this alliance would also be trying to push their thought processes, their plans, policies. I mean, I just heard Karamat Saab talking about the unemployment benefits. Now, just shortly, the leg recommendations relate mostly to medical care and old age pensions, because those are the two types of social protection that the small percentage of registered workers have, and most informal economy workers. And Zahoor Awan Saab was also a member of the labor expert group, and he raised the issue of the informal workers in the formal sector. So if you were able to catch news yesterday, in Lahore district, a couple of factories were closed forcibly because they were not following SOPs. Now, my question for that closure is that, were they following any occupational safety and health measures before they were even, envisioned to follow very, very sophisticated WHO guideline-based SOPs? So these, OSH is also, occupational safety and health is also a form of social protection provided by the employer at the place of work. And in the post-COVID world, it is going to gain immeasurable employment. Does anyone know how social distancing can actually take place on the factory floor, or it can't take place? I mean, these are the questions which somebody who really has spent a lifetime in struggling with the implementation of labor legislation, labor policies, would need to be now geared to sort of understand better in the post-COVID world. And it is being called the new normal. And I attended a United Nations University webinar today, and majority of the people, there was a poll, and the people attending were all professionals, and in their opinion, it is going to take between now and 5 years to revert to some normalcy, and the whole cycle may take up to 10 years. So we are talking of short-term, medium-term, and long-term measures. So I think my contribution, just to now make it short, to the alliance would be to create the bridges between this civil society alliance of practitioners and academicians and researchers and legal experts, labor field experts and international organizational experts, with what the government is envisioning to do regarding extending coverage of social protection. And the government, as has been said in this meeting, has no way out anymore, because it is what has hit the most as the post-COVID shock. Now, even trying to restart industries, they are having to ensure that the workers who will come to work should have been tested for COVID. Now, if we know that the average expense for a COVID test is out of reach of the prospective worker, who's probably informal or casual worker, how will the workforce be screened or filtered to take part in the production activity that they are supposed to take part after the ease of lockdown? I mean, retail manufacturing, yes, retail, wholesale and retail trade, opening up of markets, etc. There the SOPs are being flaunted. I mean, they are not screening the workers. So we need to have a more comprehensive grip on the concept of social protection and also the institutional mechanisms. Just one last word. We surveyed the capability of all the existing social security organizations, like the employer's social security institutions, the employer's old age benefit institution, the workers' welfare fund, etc. And we found that they are only catering with great difficulty to the very few registered formal workers. So to expect that their machinery will be able to cater to the informal economy is something that we decided was not a route that we wanted to go by. And I cannot at this point reveal too much about the report, but the oversight of the labor expert group, which is a tripartite group. We didn't talk about tripartism, but as per ILO, tripartism is workers, employers, and the government. And then there is also a tripartite plus concept, which includes civil society. So PASP is basically a tripartite plus. We don't. We also have some representation from the employers forum, I think. How will the coverage of the people, and I'm now talking more generally, not only of workers, to the unprotected from social protection population, how will that cover in terms of a social, universal social protection concept? How will that be moved through the institutional framework? And I don't mean SC and EOBI. Like we have proposed self-registration, and we have a very, very good system of NADRA registration, and countries who have done this kind of building up of social registries, they have put, the whole focus on their civil registration mechanism. So we need to build up, see what the building blocks towards this universal social protection mechanism would be. And I would be very happy to convey from the side of, I'm not a government employee, I am an academic. I've spent 30 years at Quaid-e-Azam University, but my thrust has always been to work with the government and to build bridges from the academia to the government, and Dr. Safdar knows that very well, and to train students who would do their bit in this also. He knows some of my students and they're doing very well in terms of building these bridges. So I'll stop here. Thank you very much.
Dr. Alia, thank you very much. You've been kind in taking the trouble to really go in depth. Also, that guidance is also needed, and those bridges also need to be made, as this was an inaugural meeting with the alliance partners, both knowledge partners like you and the institutional partners. We did not invite the government as such, but in the coming days, our alliance would obviously be working with the government, and with your guidance, this would help us to make those bridges which work. We have to conclude the meeting by 10 o'clock. We have the last comment from Sajid Amin, and then we would get back to the alliance partners quickly to get their guidance on setting the goals. Some of it has already happened, and how their organizations individually and they as leaders of their organizations would like to contribute to the efforts of the alliance. Sajid, we are together?
Yes, sir, we are.
Please go ahead.
Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. My congratulations to Safdar Saab and his team, actually. And the discussions have been so detailed, I am left with roughly not anything to add, actually. And this is, it's a benefit of being a showstopper as well, that everything is already said. My only point, your question was that how can, in what capacity we can help. As we have been discussing, I think I may be of a bit help on sort of macroeconomics of social universal social protection, or broadly speaking, economics of social universal social protection. So this is where we have been discussing, and I think this is where I can be of a bit help whenever it's needed. My congratulations, and regarding SDPI's contributions to Dr. Solari has already spoken. So I endorse that, and that's from my side. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If we have no more comments from the independent experts, we can start a quick last round of going back to the alliance partners. So do we have any other comment from any of the independent experts with us? Ms. Reddy would like to say something? Yeah, please unmute your. No, I think it's not working. So now let's have a very quick round again, asking the alliance partners about their view of the targets. We heard about immediate targets, and then Dr. Alia went into a great detail about structuring of our initiative. So Dr. Abid, we start with you again. What should be the targets of the alliance, and then how SPPI would chip in to help realize PASP those targets? Please go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Sir. It was a really informative discussion, listening to all of experts here. I would say that we need to have some long-term objective, which of course you talked of universal social protection. In Pakistani context, it may be a long-term objective, but then medium-term and short-term. And in the short term, from STPI, we will try to work on the existing social protection measures and what could have been done differently. Obviously, now, while amid this pandemic, government is doling out money, the multilateral organizations, they are doling out money to Pakistan, but we also need to do some sort of this mid-course correction and try to do assess its effectiveness, whether it is reaching to the right type of audience, and if not, what is the different thing to do, and Sajid is already leading that work in STPI. He would be doing it. The second thing that I want to do to say here that the institutional partners, perhaps they need to identify their focal persons who would be working with you, some sort of nodal persons who would be working with the PASP. And I will be announcing Ms. Hania Shah, who is here. She is our research associate, master's degree holder from Greece in economics, for liaison and to work with you directly. And I hope that other organizational partners, they would also be dedicating some human resources for the Alliance. My involvement with the alliances and networks for last 20 years, I've realized that unless and until we have dedicated person within organizations, the organization, they can't take ownership of the alliance. If you just rely on mine or Sajid Amin's contribution, we can, of course, attend one-off meetings. We can contribute what we have written. We can share our researchers, but we also need someone who on a day-to-day basis is liaising with the alliance, with all the alliance partners, and then coming back to us. So someone who is taking our message to you and bringing your message to us and also contributing in her or his own capacity. So from my side, from STPI side, it would be Ms. Hania Shah, and I hope that other organizations, they will also be dedicating, if not today, maybe in days to come, their focal persons for this very important task and purpose.
Dr. Abid, thank you very much. Your unwavering support to the Alliance right from the earliest stages and now to this statement of support and practical help in giving us a good human resource for our Secretariat. That's hugely appreciated, and we look forward to your continued support in the coming days. Ms. Shireen, please.
Sorry, just a message. I have to go. So Dr. Sohail was kind enough to sort of slot me in. So if I'm taking anybody's slot, I apologize for that. Basically, Dr. Sam, I think one side of it is obviously the administrative structures and how we sort of take those along. And I'm sure that, you know, within the group and you yourself, you being the convener, there's enough experience there and there's enough pragmatism there to take it in a manner where we're all sort of, you know, contributing to the best of our abilities. So if there is anything that you need in terms of support from the organization, at least from our side, I mean, feel free to ask. We will do that, and we will sort of contribute that. But I see that as something that will happen as we go along. I think a lot of this conversation was also around the unfortunate juncture, which gives us this opportunity to go in this direction. And I think for that, one of the things that I would sort of, I mean, I know that you're doing that finance study as well, which I think is the way to go, that, you know, sort of, I think the objective is, at least for me, that there are a lot of assumptions and, may I even say, myths about how social protection should work. Now, some of those might have worked in different contexts. So, you know, it's not a matter of sort of saying that, you know, these things don't work, or but there is a lot of politics behind that as well. There is a political economy to the whole debate as well. But I think it's important to early on also start seeing where we locate ourselves within the international debate. Because I think at some point that conversation will happen. And we need to sort of, you know, maybe start. It was great to see. That's why the ILO colleagues here as well. Maybe we should continue that. And like I said, Development Pathways is one partner that I have already worked with. I'm happy to introduce the Alliance to them and sort of, you know, have that going. But I think it's important to locate ourselves there because the value of being an indigenous voice will be if we sort of, and we all know that there is a very clear position that IMF and World Bank take on social protection. Where are we vis-a-vis that position will determine the alliance's voice on the policy table. And I'm saying it very explicitly because I think at some point we will need to be very clear and very explicit on these issues. The other part is, of course, I mean, I'm happy to be a part of if we want to do some kind of objectives, and I've bilaterally also shared this with you, that if you want to do any, what should we do in the immediate, like Dr. Alia also very clearly mentioned, and I think it was spot on, what do we want to do in the immediate? What do we want to do in the medium term? What do you want to do in the long term? You also wanted to do that. It perhaps would not be possible to sort of wrap it up in this conversation, but I'm on board in terms of giving input on that and in terms of engaging on that. If you want to make a working group or something like that on some of the issues, and you think that I can contribute to that, or that kind of capacity, like Dr. Abid also said that we have to pull in those pool in those resources. So we are very happy to sort of specifically initially in setting up some of these. I keep saying positions, but for me, positions are the way to go, because this is a debate where let's call a spade a spade. The debate is between targeting and citizenship based. It is between targeting and universal. And I think that cat has to be let out of the bag, and somebody needs to sort of and sort of just say, okay, this is what we think will work for Pakistan. I'm going to stop here, but wherever you think I can support intellectually or administratively or any other manner, we're there with you on this lines. Thank you so much for once again for initiating this and for inviting me.
And that is excellent, Shiri. That's excellent. You've been very generous, and I think out of these conversations we now have a big agenda in front of us. Prioritization is coming up. Resources are also coming up. We, on the basis of this, the whole conversation is being recorded. Also, we would generate a paper on that also, and we would engage the alliance partners collectively, as well as I didn't want to use the term of working groups, but I think eventually we have a wonderful collection of alliance partners with their own strengths. We have people from public interest litigations, think tanks, academics, development sector partners. So once we prioritize, we would have sub-clusters, one can say, for advancing different tracks leading us towards the goal. So that is excellent. Ms. Samreen Waheed, please go ahead.
Okay, I think there is a little time left, so I will shorten up my things, and hopefully we will have more time in the future to work on it. A few things, obviously, as part from my organization, any support on, again, is available, whether advocacy or research, especially on the research part. And I think within this group, probably I have a little different expertise, which is like through business and the labor from the other perspective. So that's where obviously I will be happy to review on things and be part of the research. But one thing I don't know, again, maybe when we're starting this alliance, is this, shouldn't we set up a little bit of a code of conduct for ourselves, and basically focusing on few things that we will not do this, we will not get too much into what has not been done in the past, or basically we will look at the future, we will look at the future context, global context, whatever, and then more focus on pulling out people from this dependency mode to the other things. I don't know. I mean, again, that whatever people, and basic code of conduct of the alliance partners for the, though again, not very formal. Probably that's always a good idea to start with if you want to continue for a long time. And I think obviously one thing which for me is very important, that we, again, it's times are changing, but again, rather than stucking on, we have to look much more in the future to come out with completely out of the box ideas of working on this social protection. Maybe even working towards changing the definition of social protection. I think that would be a more useful think, because, and obviously we have to look at the, keep our realities in mind, resources. So as everybody was saying, that we have to look at the data for the people in the informal workers or formal workers, or the people are not in the working class. But at the same time, we have to also get a database on the resources, or the in kind, or what kind, different kind of resources and capabilities which can be utilized. So again, I think I should give more time to other people, and
thank you.
We will get
Thank
time
you
to
very,
go in detail.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Amreen, we would, out of these conversations, we would produce a strategy paper, which we would share with all the partners. And this is an alliance, and I'm very clear about it, that we would not be doing funny things or adventurous things, or, you know, I mean, we're all together in that. And I think the intellectual contribution of you all would be our guide on that. We would stay practical also, but we would also engage in the necessary theoretical debates. We have knowledge partners, so they specialize in that. Very quickly, Dr. Izhar Hashmi, before I go to Dr. Salman Humayun for kind of winding up the whole thing, before I thank all the colleagues, Dr. Izhar. Please unmute your, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, please go ahead.
No, it is quite exhaustive for me. I have a concentration span not more than 15 minutes, and it is now 2 hours continuously. So give me a big hug and a big clap. So thank you so very much. I think that Huvat and Punjab Welfare Trust, and we have got another 200 partner NGOs. They are definitely the part of this alliance, inshallah. It is our pledge to work with you. I think that we should move from short to long term with a perspective from informal to a very formal approach against the time scale, because for this time, the charity work is being done by the government as well as by the NGOs and by the civil societies and the individual persons. So there is a lot of need to have a bridge between civil society, between NGOs, INGOs, and public sector organization and government. So this alliance can bridge between these two partners, because they have got lot big money which is doled out for the underprivileged communities through NGOs and their partners. And similarly, government in this space of time is doing a lot big. They are spending more than 1,000 billion rupees. Last word, that I am serving in an autonomous department, and we are spending around 200 million to financial assistance and capital grants to our partner NGOs, and they are spending more than 3,000 million rupees annually. So you'll see that with support of government, public sector organization, NGOs can grow big, and they can have very defined path, and they have got very clear ideas on which they are working. Thank you so very much for inviting us, and we will be the part of this alliance under your kind leadership. Thank you so very much.
Dr. Izhar, to have a Huvat on board with such a strong statement of support, we're very happy as an alliance, and thank you very much, and convey my best thoughts to Dr. Amjad Saqib. Dr. Salman Humayun, now the time is for an elevator speech for to kind of conclude in 2-3 minutes. Dr. Salman Humayun, we relate to each other through work and otherwise since very long, and his support has been spiritual, I would say, in making and taking me forward. Dr. Salman.
Policy discussion. But thank you very much. This is very encouraging and reassuring discussion. I also have a very little attention span like Dr. Izhar perhaps, but it was very engaging discussion, so I'm still up and listening intently. Thank you very much. I had little doubts when you started this group and the way the discussion started taking place. But today I'm very reassured that that is culminating in a very logical manner. and we are moving forward with discussing the targets in short term, medium and long term. I would totally concur what Madam Shireen has said, that perhaps there is a need for another conversation for reflecting on the long term goals, particularly long term goals. In short terms, I believe, I understand that you're doing something on financial side and the finance and economics of it. And I believe given the forthcoming budget, this is very high time to reflect on the allocative efficiencies of certain resources, the way these are being allocated and made available. So I think in the short term, I would suggest that looking at the budget and the provincial allocation in labor departments and all that would be an interesting entry point for the alliance. And this is the area where our Institute of Social and Policy Sciences can extend quite a bit of support, because we are having a couple of good public finance management experts available. We can put them on your disposal, and you might like to do little good dissection of the budgetary allocations that one way or the other deals with all that. So that is something very short term. Secondly, I think the debates around benevolence of the state or charity versus rights of the citizens, or as Shireen said, the targeting versus universal coverage, are very crucial debates, and we must produce certain knowledge products or a policy briefs on that. Why I'm referring that, I believe these forums are like more experts talking to experts. And I think we must take this debate to the commoners, the people who have interest and who are the real political capital of this society and the social capital we have. So how we can go beyond experts to experts conversations and create various products which create that kind of critical mass which is required to take this conversation forward. I think that seems me to should be on the agenda and should be on the table for the alliance members to discuss. I noted that Zohar Awan Sahab and other people have very strong presence on the ground at the district level and all that. So I would, as a concluding remark, I would put that in addition to high-end technical knowledge production, what kind of information products we can produce so that we have a greater buy-in and society can really engage itself into charity versus rights or target versus universal conversation, and we go beyond the realm of the technical experts. So ISEP's total support is available, Dr. Saab, particularly in the areas of public finance management, education, and policy engagement. If you want to organize quick, I don't know about this COVID situation when this would end, but I think certain conversation around the forthcoming budget and the allocations are very important. We know that we have financial crunch, so what kind of financial efficiencies can be introduced? That could be in terms of targeting or in terms of introducing new allocations or realigning the allocation, moving money from one place to the other might be a short-term answer for that. But all the best for the future, and I believe Alliance partners will be working very closely. And I'm very sure that even without having a code of conduct, we'll be very productive. Thank you. Over to you.
Well, thank you very much. God bless you, and God bless all the alliance partners. Our time is over. I would like to congratulate actually the alliance partners that our alliance is off the ground in a very smooth way, but with a lot of clarity. Though sky is the limit, but now we have the clarity on the roadmap also. So I must thank all the participants individually for their time, for their inputs, for their promise of support. I think this wind in our sails would be very helpful to the Secretariat. My colleagues are present in the Secretariat, Ms. Taiba, Mr. Muti, Ms. Tania Shah. I thank them also for quickly setting up the Secretariat and start working. And with the new resources, we hope, inshallah, that our alliance would be very productive in the coming days. And as many suggestions have come for immediate and short term also, so with added resources, we hope to take the cause forward seriously, discreetly, in an effective way. Again, I thank you all for your presence, and I look forward to your continued support in the future also. God bless you all. Thank you very much.